The sky over Denver was gray and cold. It had been gray for 3 years now. Ever since the aliens came, the sun seemed afraid to shine. Captain Jake Miller stood on the roof of a broken building and looked at the empty streets below. Once, this city was full of life. Now, it was full of fear. Jake was 35 years old. He had been a pilot in the United States Air Force before the invasion. He remembered the day the ships came. They blocked out the sun with their size. Millions of people looked up in wonder. Then the wonder turned to terror. The Galactic Council. That was what they called themselves. They said they came to help humanity. They said they would share their knowledge and technology. They lied. Within 6 months, Earth was conquered. The aliens had weapons that humans could not fight. Their ships moved faster than anything on Earth. Their soldiers were stronger and better trained. Humanity never had a chance. Jake climbed down from the roof and walked through the dark hallways of the old building. This was the base of his resistance cell. 42 people lived here. They were soldiers, doctors, teachers, and farmers. They were all that remained of freedom in this part of the country. In the basement, Dr. Emma Cole was working on a strange machine. She was surrounded by pieces of alien technology. Her brown hair was messy, and her eyes were tired. She had not slept in 2 days. Emma had been a scientist before the invasion. She studied the stars and dreamed of meeting aliens one day. Now she wished she had never made that wish. Jake walked to her side. He looked at the machine on her table. It was a weapon taken from a dead alien soldier. Any progress? He asked. Emma nodded slowly. I think I understand how it works now. Their weapons use a special frequency to generate power. If we can disrupt that frequency, we can shut them down. Jake felt a small spark of hope in his chest. For 3 years, they had been hiding and running. Maybe now they could finally fight back. The door opened, and Sergeant Tom Bradley walked in. Tom was a big man with a thick beard. He carried a rifle on his back and a knife on his belt. He had been a soldier his whole life. We have a problem, Tom said. His voice was serious. The Valari are coming this way. A patrol of 20 soldiers. They will be here in 2 hours. The Valari were the military force of the Galactic Council. They were tall creatures with gray skin and black eyes. They felt no mercy and showed no kindness. Their commander on Earth was called Lord Ixon. He ruled humanity with an iron fist. Jake looked at his people. They had 42 fighters against 20 Valari. But the aliens had better weapons and armor. It would not be an easy fight. We need to move, Jake said. Pack everything important. We leave in 1 hour. The resistance members moved quickly. They had done this many times before. Running was the only way to survive. Emma carefully packed her equipment. She could not leave her research behind. It was too important. As they prepared to leave, something strange happened. Jake's old radio crackled to life. This radio had been silent for months. No one used it anymore. A voice came through the static. It was not human, but it spoke in English. Captain Jake Miller, I know you can hear me. I want to help you. Everyone stopped and stared at the radio. Jake picked it up slowly. Who is this? He asked. My name is Nira. I am a Valari soldier, but I am not your enemy. Tom laughed bitterly. A Valari who wants to help us. This is a trap. The voice continued. I understand why you do not trust me. My people have done terrible things to your world. But not all of us agree with the Council. Some of us believe what we are doing is wrong. Jake listened carefully. There was something in the voice. It sounded sad. It sounded honest. Why should I believe you? Jake asked. Because I am going to tell you something that will save your people, Nira said. The patrol coming to your location has been called back. Lord Ixon wants all soldiers in the city center. Something important is happening. You are safe for now. Jake looked at Tom. Tom shook his head, still not trusting the voice. But then, one of the lookouts ran into the room. Captain, the Valari Patrol. They turned around. They are going back to the city. Everyone was silent. The voice on the radio had told the truth. Why are you doing this? Jake asked. Because I have seen what my people do to other species, Nira said. The Council has destroyed dozens of worlds. They have killed billions of innocent beings. I cannot be part of this anymore. Humanity is different from the others. You fight even when there is no hope. You never give up. I believe you can win this war, and I want to help. Jake thought for a long moment. Trusting an alien was dangerous. It could get them all killed. But they needed any advantage they could get. What do you know about the Council's weakness? Jake asked. Their power comes from a central source, Nira explained. A space station orbiting Mars. If that station is destroyed, all their technology in this solar system will fail. Their weapons, their ships, their communications, everything. Emma grabbed Jake's arm. Her eyes were wide with excitement. That matches what I found. Their weapons use a linked frequency. If the source is gone, they all stop working. Jake felt something he had not felt in 3 years. Real hope. How do we reach this station? Jake asked. That is the hard part, Nira said. The station is heavily guarded. You will need ships. You will need weapons. You will need an army. Jake smiled grimly. Then we will build one. Outside, the gray clouds moved slowly across the sky. Somewhere behind them, the sun was still shining. Jake believed that one day, humanity would see it again. The resistance had been hiding for 3 years. They had been surviving, not living. But now, things were going to change. Lord Ixon sat in his throne in the city center. He looked at reports from across the planet. Humans were being captured and sent to work camps. Resources were being extracted and shipped to Council worlds. Everything was going according to plan. He did not know that in a dark basement, a group of humans was planning his destruction. He did not know that one of his own soldiers had betrayed him. He did not know that the insects he looked down upon were about to bite back. The fall of humanity had begun 3 years ago. But on this gray morning in Denver, the rise of humanity was about to begin. Jake gathered his people around him. He told them about the message. He told them about the station. He told them about hope. We have been running long enough, Jake said. It is time to fight. It is time to take back our world. Who is with me? Every hand in the room went up. The war for Earth had truly begun. 2 weeks had passed since the mysterious message. Jake had spoken with Nira several times. Each time, she gave them useful information. Patrol routes, supply locations, guard schedules. Slowly, Jake began to trust her. The resistance had moved to a new location, an old factory outside the city. It was bigger and safer. More importantly, it had the space Emma needed for her work. Emma had been working day and night on her invention. She called it the Pulse Breaker. It was a device that could disrupt the frequency that powered all Valari technology. If it worked, it would be the most important weapon humanity had ever created. Jake stood next to Emma as she made final adjustments. The device was small, about the size of a football. It did not look like much. But looks could be deceiving. Is it ready? Jake asked. Emma wiped sweat from her forehead. I think so, but we need to test it. If it fails, we need to know why. And if it works, she smiled for the first time in months. If it works, everything changes. Tom walked into the room. I found a target. A small Valari patrol base about 10 miles from here. 20 soldiers. Light security. Perfect for a test. Jake nodded. This was the moment they had been waiting for. That night, Jake led a team of 15 fighters toward the patrol base. They moved through the darkness like ghosts. 3 years of hiding had taught them how to be invisible. Tom carried the pulse breaker in a backpack. He would place it at the center of the base. Emma had calculated that its effect would reach about 200 meters in all directions. They reached the base just before midnight. It was a collection of metal buildings surrounded by a fence. Valari soldiers walked along the perimeter. Their weapons glowed with soft blue light. Jake gave the signal. Tom and 2 others crept toward the fence. They had 10 minutes to get inside, plant the device, and get out. The waiting was the hardest part. Jake watched through binoculars as Tom disappeared into the shadows. His heart beat fast in his chest. 8 minutes passed. Then 9. Then 10. Jake was about to give the order to retreat when he saw Tom running toward them. Behind him, the sky lit up with a brilliant white flash. The pulse breaker had activated. The effect was immediate. Every light in the base went dark. The glowing weapons of the Valari soldiers flickered and died. Their communication devices stopped working. Their vehicles would not start. Jake gave the order to attack. The humans rushed toward the base. For the first time, they had the advantage. The Valari soldiers, confused and helpless without their technology, tried to fight back. But their superior weapons were now useless pieces of metal. The battle was short and fierce. Human rifles cracked in the night. Valari soldiers fell one by one. Within 20 minutes, it was over. Jake stood in the center of the conquered base. Around him, his fighters cheered. They had won. For the first time in 3 years, humans had won a real battle against the aliens. Tom slapped Jake on the back. "We did it, Captain. We actually did it." Jake looked at the bodies of the fallen Valari. He felt no joy, only determination. This was just the beginning. News of the victory spread quickly. The Resistance had hidden communication networks across the planet. Within days, every human on Earth knew what had happened in Denver. Jake received messages from Resistance leaders around the world. Colonel David Park, who led the fighters in the Pacific region, wanted to know everything about the pulse breaker. Commander Lisa Grant in Europe was ready to launch her own attacks. For the first time, humanity was organizing. Not just surviving. Organizing. NIRA contacted Jake with important news. "The Council is worried," she said. "Lord Ixon is demanding answers. He does not understand how humans defeated his soldiers. The other Council members are watching closely." "Let them watch," Jake said. "Let them see what humans can do." Emma worked day and night to build more pulse breakers. It was slow work. She needed specific materials that were hard to find. But slowly, the number grew. 1 device became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became 10. Each device was sent to a different resistance group. Colonel Park received one. Commander Grant received another. Resistance cells in South America, Africa, and Australia all received devices. The plan was simple. They would attack at the same time, all across the world. The Valari could not be everywhere at once. If they were hit from all sides, they would not know where to focus their forces. But there was a problem. Nira discovered something terrible. "The Council has a backup plan," she told Jake. "If Earth cannot be controlled, they will destroy it." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. Destroy it? How? A weapon called the Final Silence. It is a bomb that can kill all life on a planet. They have used it before on other worlds. They will not hesitate to use it on Earth. Emma's face went pale. "How much time do we have?" 30 days, Nira said. "The Council has given Lord Ixon 30 days to crush the Resistance. If he fails, they will deploy the Final Silence. 30 days. It was not enough time. They needed months, maybe years, to build a proper army. Jake walked outside and looked at the stars. Somewhere up there, aliens were deciding the fate of his world. They saw humans as insects. Something to be crushed or ignored, but insects could sting. Insects could swarm. And sometimes, insects could bring down giants. He went back inside and gathered his team. Emma, Tom, near his voice on the radio, and the other resistance leaders on the communication network. "We have 30 days, Jake said. "That means we need to move faster. We need to hit them harder. And we need to do something nobody expects. What do you have in mind?" Colonel Park asked. Jake pointed at the ceiling. "At the sky beyond. We need to take the fight to space. We need to destroy that station on Mars before they can use the final silence." Everyone was silent. It seemed impossible. Humanity had no ships, no way to reach space. The aliens had destroyed all of Earth's spacecraft during the invasion. But then Colonel Park spoke. "There might be a way. Before the invasion, I was working on a secret project. We were building ships using stolen alien technology. The project was hidden in the mountains when the Valari came. If it is still there." Jake leaned forward. "How many ships?" 12. Small but fast. We did not have time to finish them. But with the right materials and enough people, we could make them fly." Hope returned to Jake's heart. It was a small hope. 12 ships against the might of the Galactic Council. But it was better than nothing. "Where are these ships?" Jake asked. "In the Rocky Mountains. A hidden base that the Valari never found." Jake made his decision. "Tom, you will take charge of the ground operations. Coordinate with all resistance groups. Hit the Valari everywhere. Keep them busy and confused." Tom nodded. "What about you?" "I am going to the mountains. I am going to build us a fleet. And in 30 days, I am going to Mars." Emma stood up. "I am coming with you. You will need someone who understands alien technology." Jake smiled. "I was hoping you would say that." The next morning, Jake and Emma left with a small team. They traveled through hidden paths and underground tunnels. The Valari were everywhere, but they could not watch everything. After 5 days of travel, they reached the mountain base. Colonel Park had not lied. 12 ships sat in a massive underground hangar. They were smaller than Valari ships, but beautiful in their own way. Human hands had built them with human courage. The work began immediately. Engineers and scientists from all over the region came to help. They worked in shifts, 24 hours a day. Every minute counted. Jake watched the ships slowly come to life. Metal was welded. Engines were installed. Weapons were mounted above them. The Valari had no idea what was coming. Lord Ixon sat in his throne, frustrated and angry. Reports came in from all over the planet. Attacks, explosions, defeated patrols. Humans were fighting back everywhere. He did not understand. Humans were primitive, weak. How could they suddenly cause so much trouble? He did not know that his own soldier had betrayed him. He did not know about the pulse breakers. He did not know about the 12 ships being built in the mountains. But he would learn soon. And when he did, it would be too late. The spark had been lit. And soon, it would become a fire that would burn across the galaxy. The world was waking up. After 3 years of darkness, humanity was finally rising. In Europe, Commander Lisa Grant led an attack on a Valari supply depot. Her fighters used the pulse breaker to disable the alien defenses. Then they stormed in and took everything. Weapons, food, medicine, vehicles. When the sun rose, the depot was empty and the Valari guards were prisoners. In Asia, Colonel David Park organized thousands of fighters for a massive assault. They hit 6 different targets in one night. Power stations, communication towers, patrol bases. The Valari forces in the region were thrown into chaos. In South America, a resistance group freed 5,000 humans from a work camp. The prisoners had been forced to dig mines for alien metals. Now they were free, and many of them wanted to fight. In Africa, in Australia, in every corner of the world, humans were attacking. Humans were winning. Lord Ixon watched the reports with growing fury. His gray face was tight with anger. Red dots covered the holographic map in front of him. Each dot was an attack. Each dot was a failure. How is this happening? He demanded. These creatures have no technology, no organization. How are they defeating us? His officers had no answer. They were afraid to speak. Lord Ixon had killed 3 officers already this week for bringing bad news. Find their leaders, Ixon commanded. Find them and destroy them. I want this rebellion crushed. But finding the leaders was not easy. The humans moved like shadows. They attacked and disappeared. They were everywhere and nowhere. While the world burned with rebellion, Jake worked on the ships in the mountain base. 20 days had passed since they started. 10 days remained before the final silence could be deployed. The 12 ships were almost ready. They were not beautiful like the sleek Valari vessels. They were rough and ugly. Metal patches covered their hulls. Wires hung from open panels. But they would fly, and they would fight. Emma had installed pulse breakers in each ship. When activated, these devices would disable any alien technology nearby. It was their secret weapon. Jake walked through the hangar, checking each ship. He knew every bolt, every wire. These ships were his children now. His hope. Tom's voice came through the radio. Captain, we have a problem. Jake grabbed the radio. What is it? A Valari army is moving toward your location. Thousands of soldiers. They must have found the base somehow. Jake's blood went cold. How much time do we have? 6 hours. Maybe less. 6 hours. The ships needed at least 8 more hours of work. They would not be ready in time. Can you slow them down? Jake asked. We will try. But Captain, this army is big. Really big. I do not know how long we can hold them. Jake thought fast. They needed more time. Without these ships, there was no hope. Do whatever you can, Jake said. Buy us every minute possible. We will work faster. He turned to the workers in the hangar. You heard that. We have 6 hours. Maybe less. Work faster. Work harder. Our world depends on it. Everyone moved with desperate speed. Sleep was forgotten. Food was forgotten. Nothing mattered except finishing the ship's outside. Tom gathered every fighter he could find. 300 men and women with rifles and courage. Against them came 5,000 Valari soldiers with advanced weapons and armor. It should have been hopeless. But humans had a way of fighting when things were hopeless. Tom positioned his fighters in the mountain passes. The terrain was rough and narrow. The Valari could not use their full numbers. They would have to come through the passes one group at a time. The battle began at noon. Valari soldiers marched up the mountain paths. Human rifles cracked from hidden positions. Aliens fell. More came. Tom fired his rifle until the barrel was hot. Around him, his fighters held the line. They knew what was at stake. They knew that behind them, the ships were being built. Every minute they held was another minute of hope. 1 hour passed. Then 2. The Valari pushed forward with overwhelming force. Human fighters fell. But for every human that died, 5 aliens died with them. Private Amy Walsh was one of the youngest fighters in Tom's group. She was only 19 years old. She had lost her whole family in the first days of the invasion. Her parents, her little brother, all gone. For 3 years, Amy had dreamed of revenge. Now she had her chance. When her rifle ran out of bullets, she picked up an alien weapon from a fallen soldier. When that ran out, she used rocks. When a Velari soldier got close enough, she used her knife. The aliens were shocked by her fury. This small human girl fought like a wild animal. They had never seen anything like it. Tom saw her standing alone on a ridge, holding off a group of Velari soldiers. Her clothes were torn. Blood ran down her face. But she would not retreat. "Private Walsh," Tom shouted. "Fall back. That is an order." Amy did not hear him. Or maybe she did not care. She was fighting for her family now. Fighting for everyone she had lost. Tom ran to her position. He grabbed her arm and pulled her back, just as a Velari energy blast hit the rock where she had been standing. "We need you alive," Tom said. "The war is not over yet." Amy looked at him with wild eyes. Slowly, the fury faded. She nodded. They retreated to the next defensive line. The Velari followed. 4 hours passed. Then 5. Tom's force was down to 100 fighters. The mountain passes were filled with bodies. But they had held. Then Jake's voice came through the radio. "Tom, the ships are ready. Get your people out of there. We are leaving." Tom felt tears in his eyes. They had done it. They had bought enough time. "All fighters, retreat to the base. Move now." The survivors ran through hidden tunnels toward the hangar. Behind them, the Velari broke through the final defensive line. They thought they had won. They thought the humans were fleeing in defeat. They were wrong. Jake stood in the control room of the lead ship. Emma was at the science station. Tom and the surviving fighters ran up the ramp just as the engines began to roar. The hangar doors opened. Sunlight flooded in. Beyond, mountains stretched toward the sky. 12 ships rose into the air. Their engines screamed with power. Their hulls glowed with heat. The Velari army stopped and stared. They had never seen these ships before. They did not know where they came from. Lord Ixon received the report and screamed in rage. Humans had built ships. Humans were flying into space. This was impossible. This could not be happening, but it was happening. The 12 ships climbed higher and higher. The blue sky darkened to black. Stars appeared. Earth shrank below them, a beautiful blue sphere covered in clouds. Jake looked at his home planet. He made a silent promise. He would return. And when he did, Earth would be free. Emma checked the navigation systems. Course set for Mars. Travel time, 18 hours. 18 hours. And then they would face the greatest battle in human history. Tom sat in the weapons bay, cleaning his rifle. Amy sat next to him, staring at the stars through a small window. The other fighters rested where they could. They knew they would need their strength soon. Nira's voice came through the communication system. She had escaped from the Velari and was hiding on the Mars station itself. "I can see the Council fleet from here. 200 ships are guarding the station. You are outnumbered." "We know," Jake said. "But we are coming anyway." There was silence on the radio. Then Nira spoke again. "The other species I have met would have given up by now. They would have accepted defeat. But not you. Not humans. I am beginning to understand why the Council fears your kind." Jake smiled grimly. "Good. Let them fear." The ships flew on through the darkness of space. Behind them, Earth grew smaller. Ahead, Mars waited. And around Mars, an army of aliens prepared for war. But the humans were not afraid. They had been afraid for 3 years. They had hidden and run and survived. Now they were done being afraid. Now it was time for the aliens to be afraid of them. The rising had begun. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Mars filled the view screen like a giant red eye. The planet was beautiful in a harsh way. Red deserts stretched across its surface. White ice caps covered its poles. And above it, the Council space station floated like a metal spider. The station was massive. It was the size of a small city. Lights blinked on its surface. Ships came and went from its many docking bays. This was the heart of the Council's power in the solar system. If it fell, the aliens would lose control of everything. But between the human fleet and the station stood 200 Velari warships. Jake looked at the enemy fleet on his display. Each of those ships was bigger and stronger than his. Each one carried hundreds of soldiers and powerful weapons. His 12 ships were nothing compared to that. Emma stood beside him. She saw the fear in his eyes. "We can still win this," she said. "We have the pulse breakers. We have surprise on our side. We have something they do not expect." "What is that?" Jake asked. Emma smiled. "Us." The Velari fleet detected the human ships when they were still 10,000 kilometers away. Alarms sounded across every ship. Officers scrambled to their stations. This was impossible. Humans did not have spacecraft. Humans could not reach space, but the sensors did not lie. 12 ships were coming, and they were coming fast. Lord Ixon had traveled to the station to oversee the final silence personally. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the approaching dots on the display. 12 ships, he said slowly. They send 12 ships against my fleet. Are they insane? His officers laughed nervously, but deep in their hearts, they felt something strange. Something they had not felt in a long time. Fear. Jake opened a communication channel. His voice echoed across the human fleet. "This is Captain Jake Miller. In a few minutes, we will engage the enemy. We are outnumbered, outgunned. Many of us will not survive. But if we win here today, Earth will be free. If we win today, our children will grow up under open skies. If we win today, the galaxy will know that humans never surrender." He paused and looked at his crew. Emma at the science station. Tom leading the boarding team in the cargo bay. Amy and the other fighters checking their weapons. "I will not lie to you. Our chances are small. But we have faced impossible odds before. We have survived when we should have died. We have won when we should have lost. Today, we do it again. Today, we make history." Cheers erupted across the fleet. Every human on every ship felt courage flowing through their veins. The Velari fleet moved to intercept. 200 ships against 12. It should have been over in seconds, but Jake had a plan. "All ships, activate pulse breakers on my mark," he commanded. "Wait until we are in the middle of their formation. Let them surround us. Then we hit them all at once." The human ships flew straight toward the center of the Velari fleet. Energy weapons fired at them from all sides. 2 human ships were hit. Their shields flickered but held. The alien ships moved to surround them, thinking they had easy prey. "Now," Jake shouted. 12 pulse breakers activated simultaneously. A wave of energy spread outward in all directions. Every Velari ship within range went dark. Engines died. Weapons failed. Lights went out. For a moment, space was silent. Then the humans attacked. Jake's ship targeted the nearest disabled Velari vessel. Missiles streaked across the darkness. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Keep moving," Jake ordered. "Hit them before they recover." The human ships tore through the disabled fleet like wolves among sheep. They destroyed ship after ship. The Velari could not fight back. Their weapons were dead. Their shields were gone, but the pulse breakers had limited range. Ships on the edge of the fleet were not affected. They turned and fired on the human vessels. That one human ship was hit directly. It broke apart in flames. Another lost its engines and drifted helplessly. Jake felt pain in his heart. Each lost ship meant lost friends. But he could not stop now. Push toward the station, he commanded. That is our target. Everything else is a distraction. The remaining 9 human ships fought their way through the chaos. Around them, some Valari ships were starting to recover. Their backup systems were coming online. The window of opportunity was closing. Commander Lisa Grant's voice came through the radio. She was piloting one of the human ships. Jake, there are too many of them between us and the station. Someone needs to clear a path. No, Jake said. We all go together. There is no time for that. Lisa's voice was calm, peaceful. I can draw their fire. Give you a clear run. Jake understood what she was saying. She was going to sacrifice herself. Lisa, do not do this. Someone has to, Jake. Tell the people on Earth that I did my duty. Tell them I was proud to fight beside them. Before Jake could respond, Lisa's ship accelerated toward the densest part of the Valari formation. Enemy weapons locked onto her. Dozens of energy beams converged on her position. Lisa flew straight into the middle of the enemy fleet and activated her pulse breaker at maximum power. Then she overloaded her ship's engine. The explosion was enormous. 30 Valari ships were destroyed instantly. 20 more were disabled. The path to the station was clear. Jake felt tears on his cheeks. We will not waste her sacrifice. All ships, full speed to the station. The 8 remaining human ships raced toward the massive structure. Nara's voice guided them through the defensive systems. She had sabotaged the station's main weapons. Only secondary guns remained active. Tom's boarding team prepared in the cargo bay. 20 fighters in makeshift spacesuits. They looked terrified. They looked determined. Remember, Tom told them, our job is to get Emma to the power core. She plants the enhanced pulse breaker. We hold off the enemy until it activates. Simple. Amy checked her rifle. Simple, she repeated. Her voice was steady. The fear was gone now. Only purpose remained. Jake's ship docked with the station's emergency port. The airlock hissed open. Tom led the charge. Human fighters poured into the station. Valari soldiers were waiting for them. The corridor exploded with weapons fire. The fighting was brutal. Close quarters. No room to hide. Humans and aliens fought hand to hand. Tom fired his rifle until it was empty. Then he used it as a club. A Valari soldier grabbed him from behind. Amy shot the alien in the head. Keep moving, Tom shouted. Protect Emma. Emma ran with the pulse breaker in her arms. It was heavier than before. She had modified it for maximum effect. When it activated, it would destroy every piece of alien technology on the station. They fought their way through corridor after corridor. Bodies piled up behind them. Human and Valari alike. Finally, they reached the power core. It was a massive room filled with glowing energy. The heart of the station. Emma began setting up the device. I need 5 minutes. Tom looked at his remaining fighters. 12 were left. 12 against, however, many Valari were coming. You heard her. We hold for 5 minutes. Nobody gets past us. The Valari attacked in waves. They came from every direction. Tom's fighters held the doorways with everything they had. Amy stood at the main entrance. Aliens rushed at her. She shot them down one after another. When her rifle ran out, she grabbed an alien weapon from the floor. When that ran out, she fought with her fists. 4 minutes passed. Lord Ixon appeared at the end of the corridor. He walked slowly toward the humans. Energy crackled around his hands. He was using some kind of personal weapon that did not rely on the station's power. Foolish creatures, he said. His voice was cold with hatred. Did you think you could defeat the Galactic Council? We have ruled for 10,000 years. We will rule for 10,000 more. Jake stepped forward. He had followed the boarding team onto the station. Now he faced a creature who had enslaved his world. "You know what I learned in the last 3 years?" Jake said. "I learned that your council is not as strong as you think. I learned that you are afraid of us. And I learned that when humans fight together, nothing can stop us." Ixen laughed. "One human against me? You will die screaming." "Maybe," Jake said, "but I will take you with me." They fought. Energy blasts against human reflexes. Alien strength against human determination. Ixen was faster and stronger. He hit Jake again and again, but Jake would not fall. Every time he was knocked down, he got back up. "Why do you keep fighting?" Ixen demanded. "You cannot win." Jake spat blood from his mouth. "Because we are human, and humans never give up." He tackled Ixen with all his remaining strength. They crashed against the wall. Jake grabbed the alien's weapon arm and twisted. Something cracked. Ixen screamed in pain. Emma's voice echoed through the room. "It is done." Everybody down. Jake threw himself to the floor. The pulse breaker activated. A wave of energy exploded outward. Every light went dark. Every system failed. Ixen's personal weapon died in his hand. In the darkness, Jake heard the alien's confused breathing. Then he heard something else. A soft beeping. The sound of the station's core beginning to overload. "Everyone out!" Jake shouted. "The station is going to explode." The humans ran. Tom grabbed Ixen and dragged him along. They would not let him die easy. He would face justice on Earth. They reached the ship just as explosions began tearing the station apart. Jake took the controls and flew away at maximum speed. Behind them, the station exploded in a massive ball of fire. The shock wave pushed their ship forward like a leaf in a storm, but they survived. All across the solar system, alien technology went dark. The power grid was destroyed. The Council's grip on Earth was broken. Jake looked at his crew. The news reached Earth before the ships did. The power grid was destroyed. Alien technology everywhere had stopped working. The Valari soldiers found themselves with dead weapons and useless vehicles. They were helpless. And humanity was angry. In every city, every town, every village, humans rose up. They attacked the confused aliens with whatever they had. Rifles, knives, rocks, bare hands. 3 years of fear and suffering exploded into fury. The Valari tried to surrender. Many humans did not let them. The hatred ran too deep. Colonel David Park led his forces through Asia, freeing millions of prisoners from work camps. The people who emerged were thin and sick, but they were alive. They cried when they saw the sky without alien ships. In Europe, resistance fighters took back the great cities: Paris, London, Berlin, Rome. Flags flew again. Human flags. The flags of free nations. In Africa, the mines were abandoned. The slaves walked out into the sunlight. Some of them had not seen the sun in 2 years. South America, Australia, the Middle East. Everywhere, the story was the same. Humans were taking back their world. By the time Jake's ships entered Earth's atmosphere, most of the planet was already free. They landed in the ruins of Washington, D.C., the old capital of the United States. Once a beautiful city, now a field of broken buildings and shattered dreams. The people were already working to rebuild. Trucks moved through the streets. Construction crews cleared rubble. Children played in the parks for the first time in years. Jake stepped off the ship and felt the ground beneath his feet. Earth, home. He had thought he might never touch it again. A crowd was waiting. Thousands of people. When they saw Jake, they began to cheer. The sound was overwhelming. Jake had never heard anything like it. Tom walked beside him, dragging Lord Ixen in chains. The alien looked broken. His gray skin was pale. His black eyes were empty. He had lost everything. What will happen to him? Emma asked. Trial, Jake said. A real trial. With lawyers and judges. We will not become monsters just because we won. Some in the crowd shouted for Ixon's death. Jake raised his hand for silence. I understand your anger, he said. His voice was amplified by speakers. I share it. This creature killed our families, destroyed our cities, treated us like animals. But we are not like him. We will give him the justice he denied us. That is what separates us from the council. The crowd grew quiet. Then, slowly, people began to nod. They understood. Ixon was taken away to a secure prison. He would face trial in 1 year, after the world had recovered enough to hold it properly. In the weeks that followed, Jake became a reluctant hero. His face was on screens everywhere. His story was told around the world. People called him the Liberator, the savior of Earth. He hated it. I am not a hero, he told Emma one night. They were sitting on the roof of a half-rebuilt building, looking at the stars. I just did what needed to be done. The real heroes are the ones who did not make it back. Lisa, all the others. Emma put her hand on his arm. They would be proud of what we built. She was right. Earth was changing faster than anyone had expected. Alien technology, once disabled, was being studied and repurposed. Clean energy, advanced medicine, faster transportation. Humans were learning from their former masters. The United Earth Assembly was formed. Representatives from every nation came together to govern the planet as one. There would still be countries and cultures, but there would also be unity. Never again would humanity face a threat alone. Tom Bradley was made General of the Earth Defense Forces. His job was to protect the planet from any future attacks. He took it seriously. Training camps opened across the world. New ships were being built in the mountain base where it all started. Emma Cole led the Science Coalition. Thousands of scientists from every country worked together to understand alien technology. They made discoveries every week. Cures for diseases. Solutions for pollution. Faster-than-light communication. And Nira? The Valari who had betrayed her own people to help humanity. Jake found her hiding in a refugee camp, afraid of human revenge. He brought her to the assembly personally. This woman saved our world, he told the representatives. Without her information, we would never have known about the station. We would never have built the ships in time. She risked everything for a species that was not her own. The assembly voted. Nira was granted citizenship. She became the first non-human to live on Earth as a free person. More importantly, she became an ambassador. Because Earth's victory had consequences beyond the solar system, news traveled fast in the galaxy. Within months, every intelligent species knew what had happened. A small, primitive planet had defeated the Galactic Council. It seemed impossible, but it was true. Other enslaved species began to hope. If humans could win, maybe they could too. Rebellions started on a dozen worlds, then 24, then 100. Species that had lived under the Council's boot for centuries suddenly found their courage. The Galactic Council, already weakened by internal fighting, began to collapse. Member species turned on each other. Some fled to distant parts of the galaxy. Others tried to make peace with the newly freed worlds. Within 5 years, the Council was gone. In its place rose a new organization, the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds. Earth was a founding member. Jake stood before the Alliance's first assembly. Representatives from 50 species sat before him. Some looked almost human. Others were strange beyond imagination. But they all shared one thing. They were free. Humanity did not fight for power, Jake said. We fought for survival. And then we fought for freedom. Not just our freedom. Everyone's freedom. That is what we believe in. That is what we will always fight for. The assembly cheered. Humans and aliens together. A new era had begun. 10 years passed. Jake was an old man now. His hair was gray. His body was tired. He had done enough fighting for 10 lifetimes. He lived in a small house in Colorado, not far from where he had led the resistance so long ago. The mountains were beautiful here. The sky was blue. The sun was warm. His granddaughter Lucy visited him every weekend. She was 7 years old, with bright eyes and endless questions. "Grandpa," she said one evening, "why do the aliens keep visiting Earth?" Jake smiled. Ambassadors came from all over the galaxy now. Earth had become a symbol, a meeting place, a beacon of hope. "Because we showed them something important," Jake said. "We showed them that even the weakest can stand against the strongest. That freedom is worth fighting for. That hope is never lost." Lucy thought about this. Are there still bad aliens out there? Jake looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, dark things still lurked. Some former council members were rebuilding. Some new threats were emerging. The universe would never be completely safe. "Maybe," he said. "But now they know something they did not know before." "What is that?" Jake pulled his granddaughter close. "They know that if they come for us, Earth fights back." Lucy smiled and looked up at the stars with her grandfather far across the galaxy. On 100 different worlds, beings of every shape and size were looking at the same stars. They told stories about the humans. The crazy, stubborn, impossible humans who had defeated an empire with 12 ships and endless courage. Parents told their children, when everything seems lost, remember Earth. Remember that hope is never gone. Soldiers whispered to each other, fight like a human. Never surrender. Leaders studied human history, trying to understand how such a young species had accomplished so much. And somewhere in the depths of space, a transmission echoed endlessly. It had been sent on the day of liberation. It had traveled to every corner of the galaxy. The message was simple. It was 4 words. But those 4 words had changed everything. Humanity has risen. Freedom begins. The age of fear was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it all started with one group of humans who refused to give up, who looked at impossible odds and said, not today. Not ever. We fight. Jake closed his eyes and smiled. He had done his part. Now it was time for the next generation to write their own story. Above him, the stars shone bright. And in every corner of the universe, beings looked up at those same stars and knew that because of Earth, because of humans, everything had changed forever.